It is 7 p.m. We're going to call the meeting to order. Roll call, Wing Yu,
Present.
Joseph Chow, Alvin Hung, Catherine St. Pierre,
Here.
Shirley Lee,
Present.
I'm present, Bob Wazorek,
Present.
John Stewart is not here tonight, Shirley Jang.
Present.
Okay. So before we jump into, we can't do the August minutes just yet. We're waiting for quorum, so we're just waiting for a few more people. I do have a few people that are going to speak briefly at the beginning of the meeting instead of later on that I'm going to ask to take turns coming up. So Sandra
Oh,
on.
great. Hi.
Yeah, Councilmember.
Hi, everyone. I think I'll just speak here so people can see me. I'm City Councilwoman Sandra Ong. I represent District 20. The majority of my schools are here in District 25. I just want to, wish everybody, welcoming back to the school. I actually see many of you, including our superintendent, many times over the summer with all the amazing programs we have, the reading programs, the book bag giveaway, preparing the kids to go back to school. I do want to let you know this year in the budget, I have allocated over $6 million to the schools in my district. That's a total of like 23 projects. Wow. And you might see me in each of these schools announcing those projects, so you get more details there. There's two more fun things coming up in the district. On Friday at PS20, we are having a free movie night. It's Barbie. Bring your chair, bring your blankie. The weather looks good, fingers crossed. And then next Saturday, we are having a fall festival at Casino Corridor Park. Where it's actually a beautiful performances from many different cultures, seeing performances, but it's also a resource fair. So it's a place where many groups, not-for-profits, including the government, have resource fair there. And I think and also free flu shots. Flu season is around the corner, so I also have free flu shots in my office. So anyone's welcome to just give our office a call and make an appointment. I think with that, I'm gonna just get you back to the meeting. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sandra. So before I actually have our next speaker come up, I'm actually going to ask that we acknowledge the fact that today is September 11th and that we take a moment for silence. Thank you, everyone. So we have school safety also here unexpectedly, so we're going to give them a chance to speak real quick.
Yes, hi. So I am Director Catogio. I oversee professional standards, policy, and integrity. So basically, I just came here today just to let you know a couple things. I just work closely with you in the future. This way, if you have any complaints or concerns, we do have a 24-hour tip line that's going to be coming out. We'll make the announcement. It's going to be if parents, teachers, students, staff find out anything that may affect the building the night before, or they know any information, we would be able to know this. So we're going to have call takers that are going to be taking these calls and making notifications to the precincts, the principals, whoever needs to be communicated with. So we're working on that now. In addition to that, by the time of next year, I know we have a shortage right now of school safety agents, and we really need to work on that. But in the meantime, we were approved by the mayor's office for an assistant program, which allows us to have a student that comes out of high school that might not want to go right into college, 18 years old to 23 years old, and they'll be able to get hired to become school safety assistants. They'll get trained at the academy. They won't be able to do arrests, but they'll work as second agents in PS schools, which is a great thing because I know this precinct particularly has a lot of students. It's something that's in the making. Again, it'll be next year. They'll be able to assist with signing parents in, assist on levels like that. They'll free up the agent so that a school aide won't have to cover the main, and the school safety agent could walk the perimeter, walk the floors, check the staircases, check the schoolyard and things like that. So it's something positive. Just really quick, I'm sorry. And just one last thing, like I had said earlier, that where school safety agents are getting trained in youth mental health, so they will learn how to respond properly to a child in crisis, as well as assist any personnel in the building when it comes to that. That's really it. I just wanted to introduce myself. I was the commanding officer in this area for a very long time, hence how some of the parents and teachers and staff know me. So I'm back here, and I'll be going to other CEC meetings as well. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so we actually do have enough members here now that we can kind of take a look real quick at the minutes from August to, that's what we had last month also, and Shirley's on.
Yeah.
So if everyone could take a look, yeah, we can vote on the minutes. Yeah, we'll go to Shirley's on too.
What's up, Joe?
Michael, people join, you cannot commit. It's not a fashion show, we have no power. But you understand, you can't show up.
Does anybody want to approve the minutes?
Please review the minutes.
I wasn't here. Driving cross country.
So you have no comment?
I'll vote yes if you want me to.
I just need a motion from somebody if they're ready to approve.
A motion to approve the minutes?
Thank you, Bob. Somebody to second? Wendy will second. Perfect. So next up, we actually have a presentation from DCWP. Commissioner Mayuga is going to be speaking through Zoom. I think, is she on? There she is. Okay, did we get you a co-host yet?
I don't think you're making me a co-host. It's whoever is sharing the presentation, and then I'll.
Okay, do you need us to share it on your behalf?
Oh yeah, that'd be great. I can tell
Okay.
you when to go to the next slide. Yeah.
Can you pull up the meeting documents? And in there is the DCWP PowerPoint. Thank you. Give us 1 second, we'll share that for you.
Please take your time. I don't want to, it's like I used to be able to multitask, but,
You didn't came from you?
She's gonna explain everything.
Is it in the CC folder?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I dropped it in there a little while ago. While we're waiting for that to actually get shared, I just wanted to give a second for our FACE liaison to introduce herself real quick.
Hello everyone, my name is Maribel Perez Daniel. I am the newly reassigned D25 liaison. I'm very happy to be here.
Thanks, Maribel. Okay,
So we have monthly meeting.
yeah. Perfect. So Commissioner, you're good to go.
Great. Do you want to do the slideshow? Click on slideshow so it takes up. Yeah, there you go. I think it's like that way that people can see. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for welcoming me and allowing me a few minutes to talk about our agency, the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. Want to give you some quick points about us, and then hopefully just be the beginning of many more presentations that we can give specifically on particular topics of anybody who find them helpful, either at the CEC or like particular schools or any other groups. We've done presentation for some parent coordinators, for example, and just wherever you think it makes sense. But we're still like a mid-sized small agency, but do a lot, and we want to make sure that we share it. We could just really go into the next slide that talks about our mission and our purpose. And basically, it's right there. I don't want to just read it, but what I love is the piece that basically, if you shop at a business, if you work at a business, or you own a business, we're basically in your life. And everybody's a consumer from birth to death. And so we have the privilege of serving every single individual, every single New Yorker, just by the mere fact of being consumers, right? Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. Obviously, in the worker protection area is for those that are specifically working. Now, we can go into the next slide, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the work that relates to worker protection within our agency. The worker protection laws that are enforced by government, right? It could be the federal government, it could be somewhere the state government, and then there are some that are very specific to New York City government. And I think we are very fortunate to live in a city that tries to be very forward thinking and tries to be a pioneer in a lot of laws and things that we do, and then the rest of the nation starts catching on and replicating some of the work that we do, and which is makes us really proud. And one of those examples is pay save and sick leave. That is a law in New York City that, although there's versions of it at the state level, at the federal level, other places, we're very proud of it because from day one in a workplace, you will always have sick leave, safe and sick leave. And it's pretty much paid for everyone unless the employer has less than 5 employees. So I think that's important to remember and to keep in mind. It's this just an overview today, but we can go deeper into that on another presentation. And there is specific, lots of information on our website as well, if people are curious about that. But it's important to remember is to take care of yourself or to take care of someone else. And then also the piece of safe is that unfortunately we know that we may be victims of domestic violence or another crime, and you are allowed to take leave to go to certain appointments or seek certain social services and benefits that you're eligible for if you're a victim of one of those crimes. Another law, another right that we enforce at DCWP is a temporary schedule change that you can get through work. There's predictable schedules if you work in the fast food or retail industry. And then the most recent law that we've been enforcing is the minimum pay rate and protections for restaurant delivery workers. If you work specifically for an app like Uber, DoorDash, Grubhub, one of those. And if an employer or an app, in the case of delivery workers, violates the law, the workers may be owed money. So we certainly, it's one place that we focus on to make sure that we can make people whole. We do offer also mediation programs and navigation programs. Mediation, we do it more specifically for domestic workers. That's an area, right? That is that you're not really just walking into a business as an enforcement agency. The workplace is someone else's home. So we like to be mindful of that. And so we try to help domestic workers and household employees resolve issues without having to go to court. And the navigation program is specific to people who work for themselves, freelancers who have not been paid. And that's actually a law that was recently replicated at the state level, and it started in New York City. And the most important part is basically what we do have on at the beginning of this slide, that regardless of your immigration status, if an employer violates the law, the workers, we will go and enforce the law and you may be owed money, okay? It doesn't matter your immigration status and it doesn't matter what language you speak. We have a serious commitment to confidentiality. We do not share information of complainants. Actually, some of the laws that we enforce don't even allow us, even if we wanted to. So we really want people to come forward, and lots of information on our website specific to workers, nyc.gov/workers, or always 311. It's a good place to just say workers and you'll be connected to us. And the next slide, it's another piece of our work, which is commitment to businesses. We can go to the next slide. Basically, we license, I don't think people really realize but we do license, like it says, more than 45,000 businesses in more than 40 industries. And so we interact a lot with the public because of that, with our smallest business owners, right? And we offer convenient online services so that we can help them expedite any business that they need to take care of with us to either get a license for the first time or renew a license. And we really try to just offer a bunch of free resources so that we can help businesses just succeed and focus on running their business and not have to worry about a potential fine. We can, in our online services, just to give you some examples, people can apply for renew licenses, they can review and update information in the license, they can view past inspections that we've done and the results of those, they can schedule certain inspections. For example, when you go to a store to buy something, or even like Whole Foods, or just like a deli place that may have a scale, we inspect those scales once a year, and a business can schedule those for us to do them as soon as they get one, or there's any issues. That's like an example of something that we'll do, and they can schedule those online. And if you unfortunately do get a fine from us, or there's renewal fees that you need to pay, you can do those payments also online. And in the unfortunate time that there is also a complaint against your business, you could look at those in a system that is only visible to you, so that you can respond or let us know of anything that we should be taking into account. Now, on the next slide is the piece that we're trying to highlight our work with for consumers. So some of our work of enforcing consumer protection laws relates to enforcing licensing laws, right? So in the previous slides, we talked about the over 40 industries that we license and how that has resulted in over 45,000 licenses at the moment. And so there are requirements for those businesses that we license. And to give you some example, in this photo that we took, we were giving back money to individuals who were defrauded by secondhand automobile dealership. I think it might have been in Queens, actually. And we were making these consumers whole. We also license home improvement contractors, and that's another area where we sometimes do restitution. And then most recently, for example, we settled a case with RG Ortiz, which is a funeral home. And there are other cases where there may be false advertising as well. So there's penalties involved, and then we always prioritize the consumer restitution. In terms of any situations that you find yourself and you're not sure, you can really just, again, go to our website, nyc.gov/DCWP. There's different buckets for workers and consumers and businesses if we license you, for people to get more details, but you can really get a ton of tips there. You can check if a business is licensed, you can file a complaint, and then you can get two other services that we're going to talk about on the next slide. And that is the Office of Financial Empowerment. Is the one piece of our work that is not reflected in the title and the name of our agency, but I absolutely love it. I've been a client myself, and I really hope that if you're taking anything from here is to just make an appointment with a financial counselor. We have financial empowerment centers throughout the 5 boroughs, and you can make an appointment. You can meet literally, like in this photo, one-on-one, confidential, and talk about your finances, which is not something that anybody ever really wants to do, especially talk to a stranger. But it is honestly really helpful. We can really guide you through a lot of help, and we're going to break it down a little bit. But then just quickly, the other service that is on the other side of this slide is our free tax prep program. Tax refunds, right? It's usually the largest cash infusion anybody gets in 1 year. And we want to maximize that refund. We want to make sure that people are taking advantage of every credit they're eligible for. And through our free tax prep program, we look to do exactly that. I want to go into the next slide to like give you a little bit more information about those. This one is just showing you the steps that you would take to book an appointment online for a free financial empowerment centers. It's nyc.gov/talkmoney. We're gonna talk money. And you basically would just choose the program, which in this case, we're just kind of showing you how to book a an appointment with a financial counselor. You would select the language, because different places we contract these services out with community-based organizations, and counselors would speak multiple languages. And then you're going to you could go to the next slide to see what you would see next, which is a map. You would put down what is the location that you're looking for, generally by zip code, and it will show you what are the available places based on your selections of location and language. Our financial counseling is also either in person or by phone, so you will select that as well and decide to book that appointment. So I really, really encourage you to take that step. If we go to the next slide, we give you a sense of what is it that you can expect. Sorry, maybe one more. Thank you. Oh, what to expect. That one. Okay, that one. The first appointment, and this was, I mean, I literally not just telling you by looking at the slide, like I literally went through this when I started just under 3 years ago as commissioner of the agency, where you sit down and this person they're just going to ask you a few questions. They're going to do what we call a financial health assessment. And some of it might be like, I remember when I met and they're like, how much you spending in groceries? How much you spending in, like, you're going to have fun, go watch a movie. How about vacations? How about clothing? How about food? When you work outside of the house, right? If you're not really planning, which is difficult to do, you spend a lot of money, having a coffee outside or like grabbing a snack or buying lunch, sometimes even breakfast. And so it really makes you think about these daily decisions that you're making and how that may be impacting your budget. So that's just gonna like be part of what they're gonna be doing. And then really look at what are your goals, right? Your goals could be, you know what? I just want to get rid of all my credit card debt. Or you're one of those lucky ones with no credit card debt, right? And you just want to save some money to go on a nice vacation. Can talk about that as well. Or it could be like, you know what? I actually don't have a bank account. And you're going to talk to this counselor, what is the right bank account for you, and help you find the bank that offers it to you. So these are some of the things that are gonna we would like be talking about. There's follow-up appointments. Like I've seen the counselor many, many times. It is the only reason why I actually no longer have student loan debt. I finished my undergrad in 1998, and just last year was when I actually became student loan free. What was that? Just under $40,000. I cannot tell you how much I can breathe now. I want to be able to help my kids not make certain mistakes that I made. Okay, so then the next service is the free tax prep program that I was talking about. We can move on to the next slide. And just to give you an idea, we have, since 2014, which is actually my son was born, held file more than 1.1 million tax returns. And when we share this amount of the money that people have saved, 175 million, that's a lot. And obviously millions is a lot, but when you take it just down to per individual, we know that the average tax preparer fee is in the hundreds, easily 300. And that's just money that you want to keep in your pocket. That's money that you want to use for other goals that maybe you're talking to the financial counselor about. And the majority of people, maybe not the majority of people, but so many people that use these tax preparers don't need to, because they can just take advantage of our free tax prep program, where we have qualified individuals that have received the training from the IRS to be able to complete these tax returns. And again, this is in partnership with community-based organizations there's over 100 locations throughout the city, all the 5 boroughs, to really make sure that people are maximizing that refund. Just the next slide is a little bit of what I was talking about, but it shows the threshold. Basically, if you earn $85,000 or less, this is a program that you can use. And we really want people to take advantage of it. We'll start advertising about it just in the next couple months. So I hope that we can continue on helping us spread the word to the CEC 25 and really make sure that families and individuals are taking advantage of the program. The EITC is a huge credit if people have any earned income. We know that more than 800,000 families are eligible for it in New York City and are not necessarily taking advantage of it. And then these are the next slide is just the different ways in which we offer the program. Some people want to just sit down one-on-one in person. Some just want to drop off and pick it up later. We can do that as well. Some just want to like do it remotely, virtually, so we can do that as well. And then some is like, I got it. I just need someone to take like a quick look and be available to answer any of my questions. And that's the last one that we list here in terms of assisted self-preparation. And then we just have one more slide, which is specifically for those who are self-employed. We offer year-round services. This is a program that we launched last year or maybe the year before. That is free tax prep services, but to those who are self-employed. And so especially after COVID, you know, during the pandemic, I think a lot of people started tapping into their passions and their talents. And we want people to focus on those. We want you to be the amazing photographer that you are, or graphic design artist, or whatever it is, and not have to stress out about taxes. Particularly when it comes to estimated tax payments quarterly, it can be very complicated and there can be severe penalties from the IRS if you don't do those. So we now offer the free tax prep service to self-employed individuals that also earn $85,000 or less and have, like we have on the slide, $250,000 or less in business expenses. So we will help you do the annual tax return and also all of your quarterlies. And then aside from that, we also have workshops, toolkits. The workshops and the toolkits are open to anyone. There's no income threshold or limitation. But then for the tax preparation and one-on-one consultations, that's where the income we would ask that you qualify based on that. And then just the last slide is just Heather, who's online. She's the one standing in this photo. It's just how to contact us. I think we have a pretty cool social media handler at Hello DCWP, like hello. We really want to be there for you. We want people to come to us. Again, hope this was good enough and like had lots of more information we could break it down on topic. I don't know if you want me to take any questions now.
Perfect, thank you. Does anybody have any questions
I
for
do.
Commissioner?
What, is this, this commission or this department recently, is this newly formed? Or how long has this commission been in place in our city?
Yeah, and oh my gosh, no. So we're the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. Actually, we started in 1969. It's used to be known as the Department of Consumer Affairs, and then in 2007, no, 10 years ago, we added the paid save and sick leave, which made the agency add worker protections to its mission, but the agency name didn't change until just a few years ago. So some people know it's Consumer Affairs, but you know, sometimes we don't get out there enough to promote the work that we do and the free resources that we have for New Yorkers. So really appreciate the opportunity to share it through the CEC.
Perfect, thank you. Does anybody else
you.
have any questions? Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome.
I think we're good. Okay, so just want to give some quick updates before I move over to Dr. Mike. We did have a resignation of one of our members as of yesterday. So we now have 2 vacant seats in addition to a D75 seat. So if anyone is interested in joining the council or knows somebody that's interested in joining the council, please contact us so we can get the application in and we can get the process hopefully moving and fill the seats. Other than that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Dr. Mike.
Great.
Yeah, D75 and then 2, oh no, yeah.
Yeah, 2 regular.
Thank you so much. Let me get myself back in sharing. Oops, you don't need to know my emails. Not that
We don't
one.
need that.
Not that one.
We'll look for it.
Don't need to see my emails tonight. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here with you guys in your company. I know that the CEC held a moment of silence just short time ago, just around 9/11. I also do want to acknowledge the that particular time period. And I was mentioning to Catherine earlier that, you know, anyone that I've ever heard speak about that time, you kind of remember where it is that you were when that event occurred 23 years ago. It's hard to believe that it's that long ago, but you know, one of the parts about that time that I also remember, aside from the tragic loss that many felt, was how unified everyone became at that time. And I think that's an important space for us all to just kind of remember and linger over. Certainly in this community that we're in as District 25, that we stay connected to one another and live through that space of what our district vision is and embracing differences. You know, making sure that we're growing together as one community. That whole mindset just kind of resonated with me, just about you know, about today in general, but what we believe in certainly at the district level, and try to extend to all of our schools. So just wanted to make sure that I was able to say that before we got started today. So going to talk to you guys a little bit about the space of connection before content, and explain a little bit about what that means, and then hopefully you'll engage me in a brief little exercise. I did extend an intro letter to all of our families and to our kids, just welcoming them into the start of the year, asking them a simple question around what were their hopes for this school year. And we did receive a few hundred responses from parents and some students alike. And the reason why I think this is important for us to really think about in this idea of connection before content is about making sure that we have an opportunity to connect with one another and build relationships, you know, at the school level, but certainly at the community level. And sometimes when we just ask simple questions like that, we wind up having opportunities to really hear what people are truly thinking, and you know, what's important to them in their own space. And I'm going to share with you, just before I'm going to ask you guys to go through that, just some of the examples of what I wound up receiving back from some of our parents and some of our kids. And then I'm going to share some really cool pictures. I'm going to skip past those real quick. Whoops.
I want to see the picture.
I'm going to show them, I promise. I promise. So one of our parents indicated, as a parent of two children who start the school year very nervously, 5th and 7th grade, in a new school, in a new district due to moving, my hopes are that they are supported by passionate, kind, knowledgeable, and patient school staff who help guide them through any challenges they may face, the way that offers them comfort, grows their confidence, and keeps them curious all year round. This thing is a really lovely statement by a parent. Increased knowledge in reading, writing, and math, safe and friendly environment, open communication between administrators and parents. I hope that my child can be confident. That word confident came up a lot from our parents. Confident and polite to people, in addition to what they learn at school. This first one here is one that probably struck me the most. I hope my son will mature and take pride in his work in 5th grade. I hope my daughter survives her first day of 6th grade with her ADHD. I hope she makes a friend. You know, and when I see these types of hopes, and you know, we think about what we're really trying to do in schools. Yes, it's about our kids being readers. Yes, it's about them being writers and mathematicians and so on. But it's also about making sure that our kids are in a space where they feel as though they have comfort in knowing that there's kindness around them and that there are people that they can connect to. Because as a parent, I read that and you're like, oh my goodness, yes, we all kind of have that space of making sure that our children are comfortable in their environment. And so that one really resonated with me, just as I was reading through some of the examples. Again, you'll see self-confidence. You'll see the space of studying hard with my classmates and being happy every day. That was from an elementary school student in one of our schools. You know, so this type of mindset around what our hopes are, I think is just important to share and call out, so that we are working towards those expectations, that we're working towards building a space where our kids feel happiness every day, where our kids feel that space of kindness from those that are around them, both adults and children alike. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment, if you could reflect on yourselves, what are some of your hopes as we go into the now a full week one of school this school year? what are some of the things that you are hoping for? If you wouldn't mind just indulging me in participating in that really quick, and if you don't mind, I'll just jot down a couple of your thoughts, if you're willing. I invite you to reflect, and then I invite you more so to share some of your thoughts about what you're hoping for this year.
I'll share because Dr. Mike and I kind of talked about what's going on with me this year. So my daughter is having a lot of anxiety going into this year. Her brother transferred to a different school as of Monday. And so it's really like making sure she finds her own self at this point, that she's not just the sibling of another kid in the school anymore. And she really just grows from it.
Thank you, Eden.
No problem.
Anyone else? Any hopes for the year?
Consistency. I think, with a stable environment, learning environment, I think that builds confidence with kids.
Are you done? Oh, okay. I personally would like to see my kids branch out and try something new. I want them to feel comfortable enough this year to do something that maybe their friends are gonna do it with them, maybe they're not. Try something new.
Love that.
Any of the
Any
men
others?
have any thoughts?
Yeah.
I'd like to be an even better person than last year and see myself grow.
It's really sweet.
I love that.
You guys have anything? You guys are all quiet.
The men are just not nurturing.
I'll share. I hope that my boys can manage the academic rigors that they're facing in conjunction with the extracurricular things they want to desire, find a balance between the extracurriculars and the academic rigor.
That is not a word, what I was just spelling.
Don't look at me for help.
Anyone else?
Be kind
I
and
got
be patient.
I have two complete opposite kids,
Like,
It's true.
right? So one gets all fours, the other one I know once, I believe pre-K. So first grade, I said, I'd like to see some twos. No, pre-K, I said, no, kindergarten, I said, I'd like to see some twos. Last year, for the first grade, I said, I'd like to see at least 1 3. So this year, hopefully more threes. He learned to cooperate with the teacher already, because when he was younger, he thought he was the boss. I said, no, they're the boss, you do what they ask you to do, right? He turned out a smart boss, the teacher one day. The teacher was almost crying. I said, were you doing reading? She said, yes, well, that's why.
You're just managing the technology, that's all.
It's a cover.
So hopefully this one learns to behave, work with the teacher. He now has the teacher that I gave an award to a year ago, Miss Williams. Yeah, so, and the other one, hopefully she continues to grow and make more friends.
Alvin, you have it?
Well, my daughter is applying for high school this year. So hopefully 8th grade will be a challenge. I enjoyed the last year of middle school and looking forward to new challenges. And then I think I speak for parents that have kids that are probably from 5th grade that are going to go to middle school, that they will be a challenge also. I think that's also challenges not just for the kids, but also for the parents.
Love it. Anyone else? Anyone have any other hopes that they're looking for this year?
The audience.
Go ahead, Venus.
Well, hi, I'm Venus. Hey, good evening. Besides having a job in the system, I also work at a school. I work at an elementary school. And I'm excited. I pray that children feel confident, they feel heard and seen, and that they experience tapping into a new level of their potential. One of the students said, I like this class because it challenges me. So I pray that all children are challenged to their greatness. So yes, that's my concern, is that children understand that they're great and that they tap into that this school year. Anybody else?
By the way, I do have one that goes to 1,000 hours, so it doesn't count. Okay? I don't know if
You don't wish anything for him?
Huh?
You gotta wish something for him.
Well, but it's not
So-
productive, they told us, you know.
So, you know, I ask this question because I think we should ask our kids too, the things that they're hoping for as they're moving forward, and allows us to set goals, allows us to pursue things that maybe perhaps we weren't even really thinking about, but are super important for us to grow in. So when we hear these things, I take them and we do share them out with our schools, so that we start thinking a little bit more deeply about how do we make sure we're connecting with the folks that are around us, the parents that are around us, the kids that are around us. Because when we hear what people have to say, we can start making different decisions than maybe perhaps we were making before. So thank you for entertaining that short little exercise. I just feel like it's an important one for us to connect to and hear what those values are, so we can continue to promote. It's interesting, confidence has come up so many times. And I think it's something that we need to really think about. What layers of work are we putting in that connect to that space of confidence for our kids and confidence building for our kids? So thank you for entertaining that small little exercise. So first couple of days was really super exciting. I thank all of our principals, assistant principals, teachers, school safety, all of our school aides, paras, you name it, any of those folks that are working in our schools to help make the first few days especially a success. All of our buildings, in large part, had a very, very smooth opening for our kids. We saw lots of smiling faces. I'm there in my little pre-K little photo frame there, which is always quite enjoyable when you go to a pre-K site on the first day. Either you see children that were there prior to and the year before, they're in there, they're like pros. They got everything down pat, they know what they have going on. To the children that are seeing this for the first time and are gonna miss mommy or daddy. But it is truly exciting to see our youngest learners make their way into our buildings to get their academic space moving forward. So we did have a really good opening, from schools bringing out their mascots, connecting with kids, to schools having little opening dance parties with their children in the beginning of the school year, to popsicles in the park where kids were receiving little ice pops to begin the school year. So many different ways that our building leaders engage their kids and families to make sure that we're off to a good start. So big thanks to all of our community members. I don't know what's going on with my computer right now. It's not advancing for me. Something I did want to make sure that I followed up with in terms of an announcement. I shared with you during the last CEC meeting that we had upwards of about 800 folks that indicated they were interested in participating in the adult education courses through D79. As of yesterday, we had over 200 people that committed to registration, which is resulting in 3 evening courses and a Saturday course because of that. They are continuing to hold registration at 2:37, so the next day for registration is tomorrow at 2:37. So for any of our families that are interested in ESL courses, to learn English, or to engage in a GED program at this school, any folks that are within our district community that are 21 years of age or older do have access. So if you know people that are or would be interested in this, please make sure you let them know. It's a really, really great opportunity that I wouldn't want to see our families miss. So please get that word out there for them. This is going to be a little bit difficult to see. It will be available to you on the district site. But I did want to kind of give you an initial listing of all of the district events that we are going to be holding, aside from any of the school-based events. We will be hosting things connected to Algebra 1. We will be hosting things connected to mathematics in general. We're going to be hosting an Acadians, series of Acadian sessions, which is really super important, particularly for our families in kindergarten through second grade, so that they have a very clear understanding as to when our kids get assessed at the beginning of the year, what does it mean as a parent? So we were strategic in organizing the dates. So all of our Acadian sessions will coincide with the diagnostic assessment window. So as soon as that diagnostic assessment window ends for all of our schools, we'll be inviting parents to virtual sessions with our AIS coordinators, Arifa and Danielle, and they will be sharing with our parents in K1 and grade 2 what that exactly means for you as a parent. So sometimes we receive documents that come back and say, your child struggled with first sound fluency. It's important for you as a parent to know what that means, first sound fluency. And how do I help my child really start understanding the way the sounds that letters make, so they can start building their phonics space moving forward. So this is a really, really important part of our work this year that we want to make sure we're connecting with families from the district level. We will be offering special education sessions like we did last year. That will continue. And we will also be incorporating iReady parent sessions as well from the district perspective. So not just when you're getting Acadian's diagnostic data back, but when you get iReady diagnostic data back, how do I understand what that means as a parent? And one of the pieces of this that struck me last year, and you guys know we did this last year as an outgrowth from the CEC. CEC talked about iReady and making sure that everyone was aware. And Wendy, I'm sure you'll remember this, that at 107, when we engaged it was so striking to me that the parents that were there were also parent leaders. Questions that they were having about iReady were ones that they, over time, should have been aware of as a parent. So we want to make sure that we're building the base. We will offer it widely so that our parents from across the district community can engage in that with us and iReady moving forward. So just so that you guys have an idea of what is coming in the future, we're going to be offering a whole range of professional learning opportunities for you guys as parent community members. There'll be other things in here that I'm not going to share just yet because it's not ready yet, but we'll be doing some other things that I personally will be connecting with the community on as the year goes on. So, priorities for this school year. We have 6 priorities in particular, similar to the priorities that we established last year. I'm going to share a little bit around district data with you in terms of state performance so that you have an idea of how it is that we performed this past school year. So if you haven't seen the news or seen the press releases coming from the city, we did see a reduction in performance this year, very much like the rest of the city. So there are lots of things that we need to make sure that we're organizing around so that we don't see another version of that in the 24-25 school year. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we have planned, what we have coming forward in this school year so that we meet the goals that we're trying to meet. So priority 1, align with Chancellor's expectations around all students learn to read well. So consistent work around foundations is our phonics program. Heggerty is our phonemic awareness program. Those will continue inside of our early childhood classrooms, kindergarten through 3rd grade, particularly for foundations, with a big focus on the use of decodable text. Decodable text, just so that everyone here is aware of what that means, are basically books that allow our kids, once they learn the phonics skills, to practice in books that include those specific skills with books that they're going to read. So what we're really trying to emphasize this year is not that our kids are just learning in foundations, but after they're completed with their foundations lessons, we're building in opportunities for our kids to read books that are very much aligned with those skills, reinforcing their ability to decode in text.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the Foundations is not providing the decodable text. Hegarty is providing the decodable
No.
text. Okay.
No. So Haggerty is for phonemic awareness. That's making sure kids hear this, are hearing the sounds
Right.
that letters make. So there's
Okay.
Haggerty is a specific tailored program.
Okay.
Foundations is for phonics. That's where they're learning how those sounds are connected with letters, then connect with words.
Yes.
So the books that come associated with them, there are many different versions of them. There are books that come specifically from Foundations.
Okay. So Foundations is the phonics, and they have their own books, so it lines up.
Correct.
Okay.
There are others that are also aligned that you might also hear. There are books that are called geodes that comes from a different program, but it is aligned. Other schools will purchase what they call dynamite decodables by an author, Wiley Blevins, who we are actually working with here in the district, who's directly connected with improving outcomes for our early childhood kids. But those are the types of decodables, and there are also decodables that come from the HMH program.
Okay, because the Foundations has been great, like that is, and so I'm happy to hear that there's gonna be decodables to go with that, but the reason I asked that was because the HMH doesn't always line up with the Foundations. It doesn't, it's not always in the same developmental stream as the Foundation, so that's why.
So we do not use the HMH foundational skills part of the program. For us, we use Foundations as the foundational space. So there are 3 layers in early childhood. Haggerty is for phonemic awareness, as I mentioned, 10 to 15 minutes initially, followed by phonics, which is Foundations, followed by the HMH into reading program. So we do not engage in Foundations and then HMH foundational skills. So it's Foundations and then we bring them into the reading part of the program.
Okay.
But HMH does have decodables
Yeah.
that are accessible as well. It's about making sure that they match up with what the kids are doing.
It was my experience last year in kindergarten that it didn't seem to line up perfectly with the Foundations, and the Foundations seemed much more developmentally appropriate for where the kids were, and the HMH was maybe not quite meeting them where they were.
So yeah, the reason for the emphasis on decodable text this year, across all of our schools have done their ordering and making sure that we have enough text inside of all of our classrooms that are aligned with Foundations to support the practice. We want our kids to be able to practice what it is that they've just heard in the classroom with text that align. So that's what you will wind up seeing across our schools.
Okay, so it's a Foundations decodable.
Yeah.
That's
So it's not just the Foundations decodable. There are other decodables that are specific to certain sounds that teachers will be able to align with skills from Foundations.
Okay.
We want to have as many books as we possibly can
Yeah.
to connect with kids based on the skills that they're learning. Yeah. So some spaces, even within Foundations, they have, but we want to have as many as we possibly can so that we're not limited by just the versions that are there, as long as they align with the context of the program. And the ones that I just mentioned do that.
Okay.
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 So we have seen a lot of progress in early childhood, but we still have a lot more work to do in this space. So we're going to continue to do that. My feeling is as we build our kids as readers in early childhood, they will be more prepared to become readers from that space of learning how to read to reading how to learn by the time they get into 3rd grade. That's the ultimate goal for us as a district. And we believe continued efforts in this way will wind up allow us to support that to that end. Priority 2, that all students are physically and emotionally safe. The goal here is that we continue to sustain the work of what we refer to here as our CASE teams. In the event that you don't recall what CASE team is, CASE team stands for Culture, Attendance, Social Emotional Learning Team. Their focus is around making sure that we support chronic absenteeism, build school culture, and also support social emotional learning. So one of the things that you'll see here is that we want to continue our emphasizing the implementation of Mind Up. It was the social emotional learning program that we used last year. We do intend and will continue to use Mind Up across schools in 24-25. a focus on building community agreements across our classrooms where kids have an opportunity to share what they feel like their classroom environment should look like, sound like, feel like, so to speak, and really help build what that looks like for them in their own environment. Space of brain breaks, where kids have an opportunity to learn how to manage those emotions. And the most important part of all of this for me as we move into this year is around building relationships. How are our kids learning how to build relationships with others in productive ways? And the part of this that is really going to be emphasized is this idea of action projects. I want our kids, and this is primarily a space for our middle schoolers, where our middle schoolers are taking action based on what it is that they know is going on in their school community. So what student survey data indicates is that children in and across our schools don't necessarily believe that their peers respect one another. And that's something that we want to be able to shift. And at times, folks may say, well, they're, middle schoolers, some may, from one moment to the next, might be very, very happy with an individual, and then the next moment, maybe not so much. But to me, information is what the information is. Right now, the kids are saying that there's more work that needs to be done with making sure that kids are respecting one another. So for me, yes, we can offer continued work in Mind Up. Yes, we will. We can continue talking about brain breaks, and yes, we will. But for me, I want our kids to be involved in that conversation. If there is this feeling like we need to build mutual accountability and mutual respect for one another, then my goal is that they assume the responsibility of establishing clear projects around how are we going to do that together as a school. So the goal is that across our especially our middle schools, that we build opportunities for our kids to take action. So we know that this is an issue. How are we going to work together with our advisors, with our teachers, in order to build that across our buildings? So that is priority 2. Priority 3, providing all students with a high-quality academic experience. This one is very much connected to year 2 of implementation of HMH across kindergarten through 8th grade. Into reading is for our kids in kindergarten through 5th grade, and into literature for children in grades 6 through 8. Our primary focus for improving outcomes in reading, and then I'll share the data with you, in reading is going to be around explicit instruction. So we're going to be utilizing context from Anita Archer. Anita Archer, if you don't know that name, is the kind of the guru around explicit instruction. She's very, very well known for that. Any of you can type in her name and you'll see the work that she has done over the course of decades. And we're going to be using the mindset from Anita Archer's work around building really clear models for our kids so that there's an understanding as to here's the purpose of the lesson, teachers really delivering lessons that are very, very clear and concise, and then more importantly, giving our kids an opportunity to get guided practice and independent practice with the skills that they're learning from HMH. So a big emphasis is going to be on that this year with the goal of improving outcomes for all children by 5%, but also our targeted subgroups, which vary from school to school, which is why we keep it broad. Our Hispanic, our Black students with disabilities, and L learners across District 25. We want to continue to emphasize the importance of reducing those gaps that exist across our schools. One in particular that we're going to be focusing on significantly are our English language learners here in District 25. We have over 6,500 children that are receiving services, L services, here in our district community. And as I shared with you throughout last year, many of whom are in that space of entering and emerging. Which also, by the way, our entering and emerging children after 1 year also sit for the New York State assessments. So we have a lot of work to do to help accelerate language, to accelerate reading proficiency for our children that are here that speak languages other than English at this time. So we're going to be spending a lot of time as a district community, not only through explicit instruction, but also a focus on what we call standalone support for our English language learners. And standalone support means our children that are entering and emerging receive 8 periods of language support during a week. 4 of those are for standalone time, which means that it's intended to help build language. So we're going to be making a really concerted effort around the supports that we're providing during those 4 periods, including a pilot in our middle schools. And our middle school tends to show the lowest performance across grades, because our kids, when they come in later as English language learners, they haven't had the same amount of time to build language as other children. So they tend to struggle inside of that space. So we're going to be piloting a program called Translate. It is developed by Emily Phillips Galloway. She is a renowned author and has developed a series of things over time that we're going to be emphasizing in our middle schools in particular for growth of language. So what does this look like in terms of our performance in District 25? So as you know, we set goals for 23-24. We did not meet those goals that we set forth. Our intent was to improve by 5%. We did regress by 4.2% this school year when it comes to reading. So we were at 62.7% and 62.8%. We ended up with 58.7% as a district for ELA. So needless to say, it was disappointing. You know, what my hope was as the year went on was that we would stay at minimum status quo. And I say status quo because that's what iReady was also telling us, that much of the data was mirroring what we had seen from the previous year. Yeah.
The
Yeah, Wendy.
4.2% regression, was that number, how'd you figure out that number? From the state assessment?
From the state assessment, yeah.
Okay.
So from last year's state assessment to this year's state assessment. Yeah.
So I have questions
Yeah.
on that. Then, were you able to break apart, like, averages based on which kids took it on paper and then compare it to which kids took it digital?
Yeah, so there's more work that has to be done there to kind of unpack. But the particular grades 5 and 8, there was not a significant disparity with 5 and 8. But more has to be done in terms of the schools that the expectation was for kids in those particular grades.
So you were able to compare it?
So
They
yeah, that's
compare
something
paper
that
versus digital.
more work has to be done there, but I have to,
okay,
you know,
okay,
but
okay.
it doesn't seem to be like there was that kind of a dramatic shift. But I have to do more unpacking of information over time for that, for sure. Mathematics, it does not seem to be, because we did improve in math. I'll get to that in a few minutes. I don't know that it was relative to anything connected to computer-based testing or paper-based testing, as much as it is things that we need to just continue to work on as a district. The one grade level that, in particular, that we need to attend to were last year's 3rd graders, this year's 4th. The starting place for our students in 3rd grade was much lower than what it typically is. In the past, our kids would perform close to 60 or above 60% of proficiency in 3rd grade. This year, that was far lower. It was around 52% for our kids in 3rd grade. So in terms of, you know, reasons why, there are number of variables, but the space that I land on when we're thinking about what we see in terms of our diagnostics is the continued emphasis that needs to be placed on building our kids as readers. Phonics still is kind of surfaced in even our 3rd graders, that if they are unable to decode, unable to read fluently, then they're not going to be able to comprehend. And that's kind of what we see across our schools, where children struggle with their phonics, then it then translates into struggles with them as readers. So that is what we've seen both in iReady, and it lends itself to that same space on the state assessment. Yeah.
I just wanted to tiny quick thing, and then also with the pandemic, those 3rd graders and 4th graders, like.
They would have been our pre-K and kindergarten.
Research is gonna come out about the impact of the pandemic on children, like that 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade is the ones that were missed reading, being taught to read from a live teacher.
So those
We
are,
give them some grace.
those third graders are our pre-Kers. We're our pre-K, and fourth grade were our kindergarten.
Yeah.
That is 100% true, that those are the same children. But at the same time, and thank you for pointing that out, Venus, because it is important to note, you know, I look at things as, here's what the current reality says. I can't change that current reality because that's what it currently says. But what we are intending to do is continue to grow, and, you know, continue to work to grow. You know, when we look at it across New York City, plus or minus, there are districts that that may have performed even, you know, at a lower rate, comparatively speaking, others that performed at a little bit of a higher rate. But in general, in New York City, there was nearly a 3% decline overall in New York City when it comes to reading performance this particular year. So there is a point of emphasis that we're going to continue to make as a district when it comes to this, based on those things that I just mentioned that we're going to continue to work on as a district community. So when we look at this across our grades, the grade levels where we saw the most significant change was in grade 3 and in grade 8 in District 25. Those were the two grades that saw the most significant change in terms of performance. In other, dependent on the subgroup, some subgroups saw a negative decline in grades 3, 4, and 8. So it did depend on which particular group of students that we're referencing here in the district. But needless to say, we did see a decline in performance across subgroups, which varied from subgroup to subgroup. So our Black learners here in District 25, from year over year, was a 2% change, comparatively speaking, to the previous year. Grades 3 and 8, again, were the two grades that saw the most significant of changes. Grade 7 across pretty much every subgroup saw the most significant improvement across our district, with an average of almost a 4% improvement from year over year from where grade 7 was the previous year. Yeah.
Do we know if the fact that we introduced a new program like HMH last year had any effect on the fact that we had a decline instead of going up?
So programs in general, when we kind of look at research, so they'll refer to things like implementation of a new program in terms of what they call and refer to as an implementation dip. It's something that is common when we're thinking about research. I don't know that that was the true influencer on the overall performance decline. I think that it has a lot to do with us really continuing to build our kids as readers. What I always say is, yes, we have a program, but curriculums don't teach.
Teachers teach,
right?
Yes.
So it's something that we're going to continue to grow through as a community, that we just have to learn. Part of it is learning a new program, 100%. But in our classrooms, how are we helping support our kids? And that's what our teachers work so hard on to do every single day, right? For this particular space, in terms of our current reality, there's just more learning that we have to do in order to make sure that our kids are as proficient a reader as they can possibly be by the time that they leave us in the 8th grade. And traditionally, what we've seen over time is that our kids, when they leave us, they wind up performing at higher rates by the time they get into 8th grade than in other grades, with the exception to what we saw this past year. We did see a regression for our 3rd graders and our 8th graders in particular. Now, when you look cohort to cohort, it's not as significant, but the starting place is what's concerning for 3rd grade. So we need to make sure that we're continuing to build our program for them as 4th graders to make sure that they're ready to go. Go ahead, Joe.
May I ask you a rhetorical question? You don't have to answer.
I'm not sure what that means.
You can stare at me, you can smile. Okay. So can the principals quickly figure out which teacher is effective teaching 5th grade reading, 5th grade math, and just stick them there? And then the 4th grade and 3rd grade. And the other teachers who don't do as well in terms of getting kids to get 3s and 4s on the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade assessment, just teach the other grade. Don't answer. The other thing is, I was talking to my daughter's teacher. She said they switched to H&M, and one of the issues.
HMH?
Yeah. One of the issues she had was there was some prep, because they didn't start from first grade, they started from fourth grade. So there's some prior knowledge student was supposed to have, they didn't have it. I mean, my daughter took a English grammar test, and she made some mistakes. Now, stupid me started going over the mistake this way. So my daughter said, there's one mistake. I said, no, there are two. This one is wrong too. She goes, Dad, that's the other one. Also, because I had to go this way. All right? I was talking to Venus, she was talking to me. You said that curriculum don't teach, teachers teach. And if you have teachers who are effective, you're graded by data. Who am I kidding? You're graded by data, right? So if you find out the effective teacher in fifth grade, just stick them there.
So,
the numbers will improve very quickly.
The only thing that I'll say
You don't
to
have to
Joe
say anything.
is, so in our schools, whether you are in 3K, whether you are in pre-K, kindergarten through 8th grade, every single one of those grades is just as important as the other in terms of building our kids as proficient readers, writers, mathematicians. Because we can get to 3rd grade absent prerequisite skills, and we are in a similar ballpark. So every single one of our teachers here in District 25, and I know this for sure because I see how hard they work, is pushing towards that end of making sure that our kids are receiving what they need to be successful. So when I say that here's our current reality, it's that, and you'll see in a few moments when I talk about this idea of stronger, the whole idea of stronger in District 25 is looking at the information we have and making really good targeted decisions to help our kids. That's what really all of that mindset is about, one that we continue to cultivate across our schools so that our kids are in the best possible place to be learners. And that's what we're driven by. I know exactly what your question was.
Okay.
And I answered
Okay, but you don't have to-
He answered the best way he can.
I answered that question in a way that I believe is most appropriate to answer. Every single one of our folks is working extremely hard to support our kids here in District 25, regardless of grade level, or what one might deem as effective or highly effective. So that's kind of what I will say along those lines. So for our Hispanic learners in District 25, and this particular subgroup is one that we have more support that's necessary, primarily because our Hispanic learners, a major percentage of our Hispanic learners are also English language learners. So what I do know, while they have not necessarily released the L portion of this information yet, I know that our L learners, our L Hispanic learners did have a struggle on this particular assessment. So it is something that as a district community, which is why I mentioned that importance of standalone, they had the more significant drop in terms of performance year over year came from our Hispanic learners here in District 25. So it was nearly 7%, 6.7% difference comparatively speaking to other subgroups, is something that we do need to make sure that we're continuing to address here in District 25. Evident in grades 3, 4, and 8 where the most significant space was. We did, like in other grades, see improvement in grade 7 comparatively speaking to previous years. Our Asian learners also declined, saw a regression of 2% comparatively speaking to the previous year. This again, grades 3, 4, and 8 were the grades where we did see some of that regression. Like other subgroups, grade 7 demonstrated improvement comparatively speaking to previous grade 7, not cohort to cohort, and I think that's important to note, but grade 7 to grade 7, we did see improvement from the previous school year. Our white learners in District 25 declined by just under 4%, 3.7%. Again, similar type of pattern, 3, 4, and 8 were the grade levels where we saw that space of decline. Unlike other subgroups, the grade where they saw the most significant improvement was in grade 6, not in grade 7. Our students with IEPs saw a regression of 2.8%. most significant changes in grade 4 and 8, and like other subgroups, saw a greater improvement in grade 7, comparatively speaking, to previous years. So that's the kind of the brief snapshot of data for us as a district when it comes to ELA performance this past school year. Are there any other questions about this snapshot that anyone has?
I have a question.
Yeah.
That it might be unrelated to this.
Mm-hmm.
So like with the state assessment, right, with the result, right? So every school year, am I to assume that teachers are trying to get all the student at grade level? Because, you know, the assessment result, you have, you know, 4, 3, 2, 1 for being above grade level, right? And then 3 at grade level, right? So, but are we so if you're above, do you know what I'm trying to ask?
So the goal,
Like, yeah,
Wendy, is that we're helping kids meet whatever those heights are. So if they are a child who's currently at proficient, you know, we want to see them exceed. You know, if they're a student who's currently approaching, we want to see them meet. If they're a child who's currently below, we want to see them approach and then meet and then exceed. So some children over time will make the entire leap from below to meeting, you know, over the course of time. For some children, it takes a little bit more intervention, a little bit more support, but they wind up growing to that space. But there's not a goal of saying we want to keep our children at just a meeting range.
Okay.
We want our kids to continue to grow in terms of from where they are to where we want them to be. Now, does that mean that every child in District 25 is going to be exceeding standards? It's the hope, it's the aspiration, but it's not necessarily clearly where we are right now. Yeah.
Now, the data you're looking at is 3rd grade to 8th grade. Now, do you increase the number of kids taking the eligible regions this year by 1%? You have to take that into consideration.
So this is reading, remember, we didn't get to math yet.
We're not talking math yet.
Oh, hush.
It's Joe's favorite subject.
Hold on, let's get to math.
We didn't get to math yet. That's the next one.
You did better in math.
That's the next
Sure.
one. Yes, we did improve in mathematics. There's still, like any other subject, you're gonna always hear me say, even if we did phenomenally well, I'm gonna celebrate the space that we have to celebrate, but I'm gonna tell you right after that, we have more work to do. Whether we met the mark or we didn't meet the mark, my goal, and maybe it's part of my competitive nature and such, it's about making sure that we get every kid in this district to a place of being ready to go for high school and beyond. That's ultimately what we're here to do for our kids in the community. So having said that, moving into mathematics, and before I even say anything else here, I do encourage any of our parents, certainly those that are on the CEC, if you're willing to participate in the conversation around the curriculum choices that I mentioned during the last CEC meeting. Beth from our team is going to be connecting with parents so that we can get your perspectives on making a really good, smart choice going into the 25-26 school year. So just make sure that you let us know. Esther, can you just mark down Mr. Chow would like to participate? Wendy would like to participate as well. So that when they're having those meetings and they're reviewing.
Catherine signed up already also.
Who did?
Catherine did it
Catherine, you already on
online.
it? Perfect. So when they start hosting those meetings, you guys have an opportunity to review what those curriculum choices look like for D25. So in terms of continuing to support our work and building on this space of acceleration, we do want to continue to build the idea of math routines inside of our classrooms so that our kids can support their ability to be flexible thinkers. 5 mathematical practices for discussion inside of our classrooms as well, so that our kids can really engage in some of that math talk that will help support all of our learners really explain what it is that they're doing inside of our math classrooms. Problems today are not the same as what perhaps they had seen in the past. A lot of text inside of our math problems today. And our kids need to be able to know how to navigate what those problems are asking and be flexible math thinkers so that they can problem solve accordingly. So kids are going to see routines like notice and wonder. They'll see things like which one doesn't belong. They'll see things like the 3 reads protocol to help them break down word problems in a way that makes sense for them so they can attack a problem more fluently. So for us in D25, we did see some progression in our math work. When it does come to meeting our goals, while we approached meeting them, we did not meet the full 5% that we were talking about at the beginning of the year. Some within grew by 3%, some grew by 1.5%. Overall, we grew by 1.4% as a district community. When we're talking about the all-student subgroup, so overall we're at 67% of our kids are currently meeting standards, not expectations, meeting standards in grades 3 through 8 when it comes to the mathematics assessment. Performance did wind up showing itself in different ways dependent on the subgroup. Our Black learners in District 25 did grow by just under 3% comparatively speaking to the previous year. With grade 7 being the biggest, and guys, I'm not sure if you're noticing and hearing the grades that I'm talking about. Yeah. The grades tended to be similar both in reading and math in terms of growth. So grade 7 did show itself here in terms of performance, and like ELA, grade 3 did get off to a lower starting place than previous grade 3 in mathematics this past school year. For our Hispanic learners, we grew by 2.5% from the previous year. Grade 7, again, saw the most significant increase in terms of performance. And I'm highlighting that for a reason, just so that we can see that there was that space of a pattern across both reading and in mathematics. But we also saw a lower starting place for our kids in 3rd grade, again, for this particular subgroup. Our Asian learners grew by 1.4%, comparatively speaking to the past years. Grade 7, again, saw the most significant increase. Grade 8, in this particular case, saw a reduction in terms of performance compared to previous years in 8th grade. Our white learners in the district grew by 1.5%. Regressed 1.5% in terms of overall performance. In mathematics, the most significant change was in grade 5 for our white learners. And it is the only subgroup that did not necessarily follow the same patterns as other subgroups in District 25. And our students with IEPs grew by a little bit less than 1% year over year. The most significant change was in grade 4 when we're looking grade over grade, and grade 7 demonstrated the most improvement across our districts. Now, when we're talking about the Algebra 1 assessment, 57.5% of our 8th graders that completed the assessment received an 80 or higher. Overall, we had nearly 90% of our kids that took the Regents did pass the Regents here in District 25, and that was 1,300 children that did complete the assessment. We had a 8.5% an increased percentage of 8.5% more of our Hispanic learners that did pass the assessment this year, comparatively speaking to previous years, and 10% increase of our Black learners, comparatively speaking to last year. Our goal, however, is to not just get our kids to pass the Regents, as you've heard me mention before. I'm happy that we had an increase in the number of kids that were passing the Regents, but I want more of our kids to be in that range of an 85 and above, so that they are ready for geometry. And I know this is something that Joe has been talking about as well, just in terms of readiness for the geometry coursework, and that's what we are really pushing towards in District 25.
80, and it's for Algebra 2.
80 and above, we push for the 85. When you look at the overall performance rate for kids, they break them up into different buckets. 85 and above is one particular bucket. 80 to 84, which is a strange range, is another bucket, and then 65 to 79 is another bucket in terms of overall performance for our kids when they take the Algebra 1 Regents. Yes, we want an 80, but I want our kids to be in that space of 85 where we're classifying it as proficiency.
About maybe 16 years ago, CUNY came out and said 80 on the algebra regions is considered to be college ready. That's why 80 is very important, because if
Yeah.
you can't get 80, most likely the child's not going to pass algebra. So forget about getting a 90 passing. They want more kids in algebra so they can take calculus in high school. They'll have
So our goal is to continue to emphasize the importance of building our kids to be algebra ready. And part of that is around making sure that our kids are able to see mathematics and be flexible with their thinking. They need to be able to, with today's problems, they're not as cookie cutter as they used to be, certainly growing into the 8th grade. Algebra 1 Regents is a little bit different than what you're going to see in the other assessments that kids are going to be taking. But needless to say, it's about making sure that we're doing all we can to prepare our kids for that. And that's a lot of what Beth from our team has been working on to prepare for that Regents exam.
You said 1,300 8th grader
Yeah.
took the Algebra 1 Regents.
Yes.
How many 8th graders are in this?
So we have about 2,400, so 1,300 or so, 2,200, 1,300 or so took the assessment, and then we had about 900 children that just took the state mathematics assessment. So when you look at the overall performance in mathematics, when children that are not taking the Regents, it shows our performance in 8th grade being far lower than typical if all of the children were taking that assessment, taking the 8th grade math assessment. So kids are not taking both, they take one or the other, not both of the assessments. So it does change the overall performance rate in grade 8 for the district.
I have a question.
Questions?
I guess I have a question. Oh, yes, I wanted to go back to the reading, and ELA stated that, and y'all don't understand how privileged y'all are to have him be so transparent and share the information so early on. He's like leading the way in superintendent as far as discussing the data, and he knows I love him for that. I just realized, this is my 10th year anniversary, 11th year anniversary of coming to the CEC with my son in 2014, 2013, I started coming to District 25 to learn best practices to bring back to District 28. But as far as the data and the ELA, I wanted to propose or discuss with the council, discuss with you, having a district-wide tour to really separate the ELA exam from reading, because there was this whole big thing around the science of reading last year, 2 years ago, and the DOE taking that on. And just because of the performance of the state exam doesn't really help parents to understand whether their child can read or not. Because being an elementary school educator and seeing the exam with the child, that's not letting families know whether your child can read or not. Your child can get a level 3 and still not be able to read. So in future conversations, making sure that we're discussing curriculum and ways for families to assess if their child can read. Because that test is not a reading test. You have to read to take the test, but it's not assessing phonics and word recognition and stuff like that. It's really, can you read this passage and figure out what it means? But families need to be able to say, I know my child can read by the 3rd grade and 4th grade.
Yeah, so Venus, I'm not sure if you came in when I mentioned this or not, but I think you were here for this. But the things that are important too are the diagnostic assessments that are being administered, so that our families understand what those things are actually telling you. Because there's a very clear through line for children that struggle in phonics. There is a very clear through line when they struggle in phonics. They struggle with their ability to be a fluent reader. They struggle with their ability to build vocabulary. They struggle with their ability to comprehend text. Much of that comes from that space, which is why we're emphasizing so much this idea of building those foundational skills in K1 and 2, where our kids get to practice what it is that they're learning in meaningful ways, but more importantly, making those connections for our parents, which I'm going to talk about now in Priority 5, for our schools to make sure that they are engaging our families in 2 ways. One, making sure that we are really building opportunities for our parents to understand the progress of their children, which is why you're seeing this emphasis even from me at the district level to hold these events around Acadience and iReady, but also around that space of receiving progress from schools. What are we learning from our buildings around how our children are performing? And then, as parents, what do we do about that? And I think it's a space of just making sure that there's a consistency of being informed. And as you guys know, last year we had probably, and Wendy, you probably attest to this, more family events at the district level than we had in previous years, and we're probably going to be beyond that this year, because the idea is making sure that as many parents as possible can be connected to what's happening inside of our schools.
I think as you roll out, as you have more of these events and, the community, the parents know, then I think they will start attending.
Yeah. So what the goal is this year is around relational opportunities for families, meaning that we're not just going to provide parents come and do this, engage in this workshop, but more around the idea of here's a family event where we're bringing you in, you're going to get to see your kids will be in action, and you'll get to learn a little bit of something too at the same time. So that's kind of the crux of our getting our families engaged space, is making sure that there's this awareness, which is why we work towards, and we'll try to do more of them, the Right to Read screenings that we did this summer. The purpose of the Right to Read screening was not just to show the video for families to understand around the importance of phonics and the importance of building the foundational skills, but to leave with some tools to help them at home. So the more we can do that, the better off our families will be, the better off our kids will be to receive that support.
Mike, I'm sorry, there's a question in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody had to step away, but they're asking about
What priority 4 was.
I didn't hear what that was.
What was priority 4?
Oh, priority 4, I'll go back. Priority 4 is around mathematics. It's all students graduate college and career ready and have a strong plan and pathway to economic security. So we've tied this into mathematics as a means of making sure that our kids were high school ready so that they can then be college ready. And mathematics is an important driver in that space, in addition to being really proficient readers. And lastly, where I'm going to finish up, and this I can't emphasize enough. Our children are going to have difficulty learning if they're not in school. During the Right to Read screenings that we had, I shared with our families, and not because any of our parents that were there or any parents that are here are parents that are children of chronically absent students, that anyone is doing anything wrong as a parent. There are reasons why children are absent, right? And I will never call on a parent to make sure you send your child into school when they are sick. Right? I'm not going to say if you have the flu, make sure that Mike is in school, right? But when we have 27%, and this is across all subgroups, folks, this is not specific to any single subgroup, 27% of our kindergartners absent 18 or more days, right? 27%, so that's more than 1 in 4. That are out 18 or more days. It influences our kids' ability to catch up and grab onto language, right? So it's a call for all of us to just make sure that we remind ourselves too. Listen, I mean, it's easy to kind of get into a space, especially when our kids are that young, maybe perhaps kindergarten, not that big of a deal if Mike stays home with me today, because of whatever the reason. Maybe it's not about illness, but for whatever the reason, Mike stays home with me today. If that happens too frequently, Mike becomes a child who's missed 18 plus days of school. So what our schools are going to be really working on, as they have in the past, is just to connect with our families, making sure that whatever needs that they may have are being met, to ensure that our kids are in school every day. And I was speaking with someone who's kind of serves as a coach for me, and she said something to me that really made me pause and just reflect about the way that I was talking about chronic absenteeism. And I flippantly said to her, she said, "So what do you think are some of the reasons why chronic absenteeism occurs?" And I said, you know what, and I wasn't trying to be funny, it's just the way that I said it. And after I said it, I'm like, oh, that was maybe a little silly. I said, you know what, sometimes, even when the weather's bad, some of our kids stay home. And what she said to me was really important. She said, well, did you ask them why? Maybe, perhaps, it was a torrential downpour, and that particular parent did not have rain gear for their child. So instead of coming in soaking wet, we stayed home today. So it's asking the additional question that is so important for us to continue to think about as educators, as teachers, and for our families to feel comfortable enough to say, you know what, I'm having a struggle in this way, to make sure that our kids are in school every day. So it's not just kindergarten. First grade is 21%. It's chronically absent. So 1 in 5 of our first graders is absent 18 or more days. So it's something we just have to work on. There's never one answer, because we do have children that are in fact sick. They do get sick. Our earlier grades, it happens more frequently than not, particularly our pre-K. Because our pre-K numbers are double first grade. 42% of our pre-Kers miss 18 or more days. So now listen, when they are 4, they catch everything. You know that. They catch everything. But we want to emphasize as much as possible. It's just an awareness thing that every single day that our children can be in school, they need to be in school. If they are not sick, they need to be in school. If you have an appointment and the appointment is at 2 o'clock, that kid should be in school, right? If there are reasons that are health reasons, parents can call the school. The nurse and the school will come up with an action plan to make sure that if there are health concerns, that they're being met, right? But if we don't engage in those conversations and that back and forth, it makes it very difficult. So it's going to be something that we're going to continue to emphasize. We will have incentives across our schools to make sure that our kids know the importance of being in attendance every day. Schools will have what we refer to as success mentors, or some call them ACEs, where there is someone that's connected to a child, connected to a family, to make sure that we're doing the best that we can to encourage that attendance. But I think the most important thing is just awareness. I think for some of our families, they don't realize that those days add up. When it's 2 days a month, 2 days a month by the end of the year is 10% of the school year, which equates to being chronically out.
So you don't see as much chronic absenteeism with the older grade, like 5th and above?
So grade 5 is our lowest chronic absenteeism rate across the district. So that is, but it's still relatively high. It's still 15%, right? 15%.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
So it progressively improves as we go through the years, and then it tilts up a little bit towards 8th grade. So as the kids are in 8th grade, it does nudge up, but it's not above 20% in any grade other than kindergarten and first grade. Yeah.
And pre-K.
Oh, and pre-K, yes, and pre-K.
So I
of
know
course. I see a hand out of my lens here. It's catching Venus in the behind me.
Two questions. One, what are you reading this season? What book are you reading? I want to know. And then number 2, about absenteeism, is going to be my 5th passion. So my first passion is education. My second passion is special education. My third passion is ELS. My fourth passion newly is D25, and now my 5th one is absenteeism. There's a guy, Brendan Richard, who has a book, I think they're famous books, a motivational speaker, and he speaks about his travels and his youth. And I would love for you to take this back to the chancellor and to the superintendent, the conversation around when your child misses school, they're missing out on instruction. And it's not hitting. It's not, the spaghetti is not landing on families. This is an example in District 25 of sometimes it's cultural differences, right? And I don't want to be stereotypical, but in order to explain it, some cultures teach their children at home and invest in other educational supports to educate their youth. And their missing school might not be a detriment to their education, but it is a detriment in this way that the Department of Education is structured to teach their kids. So yes, you're at home, maybe grandma or somebody came from their country and is working with them, but they're missing out on the way the DOE kind of paces education from pre-K to 8th grade. Because before, I would believe, keep your pre-K kid home. They're going to learn better. They're going to learn 3 languages at home, and it may be, but to jump in first grade and your city Department of Education doesn't work. Because they've done things in kindergarten and pre-K that your kids miss, no matter how smart they are. So I think when the DOE says it, they keep saying, oh, because when you miss a certain amount of days, nobody cares about that, right? Because the numbers are showing that's not landing for families. But when we talk about respecting their culture and letting them know, why are you, and now it's not sick. Sometimes they're in their country for 2 or 3 months, or they're, or grandma is came to visit and we're keeping our kids home with grandma. And honoring that and kind of seeing how we can still ensure success whether your kid is there or not, and we would love for your kid to be there, and the Department of Education runs on numbers, and funding runs on numbers. And being honest with families that in order for us to have a reading culture, this and that, our numbers have to look a certain way, and what are you doing at home when your kid is there? And how can we model that in school so that you feel comfortable to bring your child to school? But just really shifting it from telling parents that, oh, if your child misses so many days, you're not gonna excel. That's a lie, because this is one of the best districts in Queens, right? And
So,
it's not getting them to bring their kids.
So Venus, but one of the things that the data does say, and chronic absenteeism is not subject to District 25. It's a citywide, statewide, national-wide problem. What research will indicate is that student performance does change when children are not in school. It's evident in research, but it's also evident here. So when I break down the numbers and I look at children that have been chronically absent, there is a significant difference in performance for those that are in school routinely versus those that are not. What you are saying, though, that I appreciate and I think is important is around the space of culture, and how we connect with that culture in different ways. So that is something that I appreciate you saying, and that I will bring back into my conversation around how we organizing, because it is important. There are certain things that one family, and this is the hard part about chronic absenteeism, by the way, everyone, is that there are no two examples that are always alike. Every family's got their own reason for why it is that a child might not be in school. And that's the hard in it. So when you think about District 25, there's over 4,000 children that were absent 18 or more days. So sometimes when you think about overall numbers and you hear percentages, it doesn't tell you the whole story. And that, listen, it includes our youngest of children, but it is still a significant problem when you think about those percentages across grades. So it's important.
I have a great example. So my daughter has 2 classmates, twin boys. They only live 1.5 blocks away from the school. Already first day of school, one of them missed the first day. On the second day, the other twin missed the first day. It's like they tag team, okay? There's always a problem. And every month, I think they miss like 2 to 4 days of school. And it really reflects on their assessment, because I learned through their parents that, one of them is at level 2, below grade level, and the other one just made grade level.
So yeah, I think attendance will forever have its space of creating gaps. And I used this example with you guys in the past, that we are and continue to be part of training around the science of reading. But within the science of reading, there was an example where they were teaching adults a new alphabet, right? Just to establish a point around symbols and sounds. So one of the building leaders happened to get up. She had to use the bathroom, right? By the time she came back, they had already gone over what those symbols and sounds were. She had no clue. How do you contribute to a lesson when you don't know what was just reviewed? When you do that with frequency, it's hard to keep up on the sounds and the letters how those sounds are formed within those letters, and then making those words. So it's a big thing, and there's no easy solution, but I can tell you it's something we're going to continue to work on. We want to be able to support all of our families in this way, so that we can ensure our kids are in school every day. Okay, and that was the short version. We made it the long version just so we could talk about it, but At any rate, so levers for improvement, and I'll go through this part quick. So things that we believe in here that we want to use to build our work. Use of data to support multi-tiered systems of support. That should be something that you've heard me talk about before. This alignment of professional learning, specifically within the context of explicit instruction. Deepening curriculum implementation, this being year 2. Partnering with the community, creating these relational learning opportunities, which I mentioned to you already. And this last part that you see highlighted in yellow is cycles of learning, that we're consistently going through this space of here's where we are, what do we have to learn? Here's where we are, what do we have to learn? And so to support our kids in the best way possible. So that's a big part of my work this year with our district team and with our schools. All around this idea of stronger. So strategic use of information, targeting areas of need, researching possible solutions. The last 2 parts of this stronger are the most important to me, and I want to emphasize them. Evaluating and studying, and then responding with action. Those are really, really important components of the work for me this school year. We have developed a new district-wide data tool, which will be kind of unveiled in the coming weeks. DLT had an opportunity to see what it is that we're doing. Our schools will have an opportunity to see what we're doing with that. Really intended to help build the interpretation of information so that we're making really good choices for our kids. I'm really excited about that tool. These I've already talked about. It's just another way of talking about use of decodable text, mind up, explicit instruction, use of everything that I talked about with the priorities is here, just in a different view. So I don't need to rehash that. These are just for you guys as you want to take a look. These are just the professional learning supports that we're going to be engaging in with Foundations and Hegarty, as well as, again, that focus on teamwork will be layered in all of the things that we do. You okay?
Okay.
I'm okay. I'm recovering from COVID.
HMH,
Don't worry, I'm okay.
HMH professional learning plan. HMH professional learning work. There's going to be space around explicit instruction, as I mentioned, standalone E&L support, integrated E&L support, and our teamwork. Mathematics, as I mentioned, the areas that we're going to be paying attention to in terms of math routines and use of 3 reads protocol to help support problem solving. And that concludes my presentation for you guys tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Mike.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
So.
Thank you, Joe.
Before we go back to the regular part of our agenda, just because for the sake of time and our speakers that did want to speak, I'm going to move over to public speaking time for a minute. So, Joe?
No.
Just him? Okay.
She may need to speak to help me out. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Joe Kessler. I'm the former District 25 rep. I now work for the UFT for Teacher Center and Special Projects for the President Michael Mull Group. I spoke to Eden on Facebook, and I don't know who the flyers went to. The school chapter leaders were supposed to send them out this Saturday. Is a wellness day.
You guys all have a copy of it.
It's between the UFT and Common Point, we've teamed up, and there's from 9 to 2, you guys are invited. You don't have to register if you want to go. Mary Vaccaro, the Vice President, just welcome you. I know Dr. Mike will be there, several DOE folks. There's a lot of really interesting things, even for kids. I learned today something about science and making slime. They're coming, Kendra Scott, the jewelry, and the key speaker is Mind Up, Goldie Hawn. She's going to speak at about 9:45. She's into the big Mind Up, in which across the city is taking a big part, but District 25 really leads the way. So Dr. Mike, thank you. So that was basically what we're pushing. There's a thing about dial-a-teacher, a lot of different things for parents. So if you just want to stop by for a little bit, it goes from 9 to 2, and in the Common Point, Samuel Field Y, it's a great location. There are many of our schools, by the way, Common Point, for after-school programs in middle and high school, I believe. I'm not sure in some of the elementary. But The other person I wanted to introduce, who works for Teacher Center, is our district coach is Amanda Centaur. Amanda did this last year, and she's working with Dr. Mike and the team and for HMH for any support that teachers need, any questions
You're on the
parents
spot
have.
now.
So you could guys, if parents reach out to you, it's a new program, and as Dr. Mike said, in any new program, the scores traditionally do tend to drop a little bit. And I'm working at the upper level in high schools with illustrative math. I'm the point person. And we're expecting something similar, where the teachers say to us, they need help. We're not the employer. We're here to support. And the city has chose to do these programs, and there's good things about them. There really are good things, and we need some time. So our district leads the way, and one of the things I would have liked to have seen, I tried to do it online, the comparison across the city with the data. But I know you'll probably have that in the future, because it has tended to go down. But they are two very strong programs, and we're all in this together, and our CEC has been very strong. So Eden, I wish you the best of luck, because for all the years I've been coming, you guys are right to the forefront in visiting schools and supporting parents and teachers. So anybody have any questions at any time, feel free to reach out to anybody from the UFT, Dr. Mike. We're all working together. And our main goal, as I always say, is for the kids. And I know Umid wasn't here. I don't know if you...
Yeah, we're gonna introduce him.
You did already?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. Because I know one of the things as I started as district rep was attendance at his school before he came in. And when I don't want to steal your thunder or his thunder, but they've made headway there. And it is a thing across the entire city. And there's so many factors, but we have really the top district. And I want to thank Dr. Mike for leading us. And we're very, very lucky for the years that we've had with Danielle DeMango and Dr. Mike as the deputy. And we're going to just continue to, thrive. But if anyone has any questions about what Teacher Center does and support Dr. Mike, Amanda is really, great. Just wanted to bring her to show her face and see everybody. And the last piece is the office staff, Esther, Louis, and everybody else that's not here. Behind the scenes and everything, this is a team. We're a team and like a family, and that's why our district does so well. So thank you guys, and I'll see you down the line.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
So I'm going to give Venus the floor next.
First, I want to show you all my artifact.
Oh.
This was in this office
Joe.
Aw.
September 10 years ago.
Oh, what is his name? I forgot his name.
Tiny.
Tiny, yes.
Yeah.
I was at St. John's with Tiny. You didn't know me, but I was at St. John's with Tiny.
Now my son is a graduate of Bayside High School, class of 2024. He's attending SUNY Morrisville upstate.
Does he play ball?
Not yet. He's just 17, so he has time to develop his body and try out for the football team next year. Yeah, 6'4".
6'4".
Yes. But very immature.
Thank you, Joe.
But no. One, I'm a little biased. I realized in preparing for this meeting that I'm a product of District 25. So all my brilliance and all my advocacy and all of my commitment. I went to PS 154, Parsons Junior High School 168, and then Jamaica High School, that's in 1997. So I'm a proud lifelong resident, and my mother went to PS 154, and so it's amazing, full circle. But no, I am visiting CECs. My theme for this year is a salt and pepper song. Anybody know this song? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, great. Well, they have another song. Let's talk about schools. That is my theme for this year and last year, is that CECs discuss schools at their calendar meeting. When we talk about data, we can discuss specific schools. Of course, my schools of interest are 201, 250, which used to be Parsons Junior High School, 237, right? 231.
Close it, 237.
237, yeah. So I
Let's
want the council members to share what schools they're gonna be liaisoning for, which I know you're gonna be doing soon, but also what's happening at those schools academically as well as culturally, in welcoming environment, inviting PTAs on the Zoom to shout each other out and SLTs, and really, I'm a big proponent of the importance of attending CEC first and foremost. So I have like this document called Top 5 to Thrive. Top 5 meetings parents need to attend to ensure quality education for their kids. And number one is CEC, because you get to be in front of Dr. Mike, and you can touch him, and you can ask me a question of concern. And it's a little bit more pressure for him to come to your school and parents feeling comfortable. It's very important that parents feel comfortable with school leadership and district leadership. What did you say? I'm listening to you.
I said I'm not gonna touch it.
No, I didn't listen to that, but you can ask me a question face to face. Because a lot of parents, sometimes they feel uncomfortable with their teacher, let alone their assistant principal, their principal, and their superintendent. It also is a great place for staff to attend, having the UNT there, because it builds confidence in teachers. It feels comfortable, because you hear, oh, the superintendent's coming, and all the teachers are running around their building, but I've seen you so many times. When you would come to my school, I would say, hey, Dr. Mike. So it helps all of our children thrive when all the different components feel informed and empowered, knowing the jargon, looking at the numbers and breaking it down. So again, I hope attendance increased tenfold in attending these meetings, coming back in person. We're back in the building, folks. Come back.
It's just me.
Yes, but this year I'm really holding council members accountable for discussing your school, whether you have D75 programs at your school, understanding the difference between D75 and the school. Because what I found in my research last year in District 28 was that 90% of the students in a District 75 program do not live in the area of that school. So it's a totally different culture, climate, people that are coming into our building and making sure that we are fostering relationships between those schools. So I would love to hear about D75's programs in District 25. We never discussed that. Could you just give me an example of one elementary school that has a D75 program?
So we have a number of them. 209 has a program, 130 has a program.
And do they have the same P, like
25.
11,
So they're not under my supervision.
Yes.
So they're in our schools, but I don't necessarily connect at the same level as our elementary and middle school. So
Okay.
I can't detail as
And we
much
don't
as I
have
could
a
about it.
75 reps, you don't have a
I can't
75.
detail as much as I could about our own schools.
Okay.
As our D75, but they are certainly within our buildings. We have really great opportunities in terms of mainstream supports from
Yes.
our D75 right into our general education
And do you have any
classrooms.
inclusion programs?
So that's what I mean, that's part of that,
Oh,
part of that space, yeah, of course.
Because where I work, we have like a huge D75 255, and I know they're inside of junior high school 250.
Yeah, we have a number of programs across the district.
So
that are-
maybe
that are
you, the
D75.
council, can invite Superintendent Hussein, who's the superintendent of D35, and maybe some of the P principals to come discuss their programs in future meetings.
Thank you,
That was
Venus.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
so
Venus.
much.
Okay, do you want to do your introduction?
Yeah.
Oh,
do you
and
mind?
Dr. Mike, you didn't tell us what book you're reading.
Right now, we are in Anita Archer land, so right now it's explicit instruction by Anita Archer. Yeah.
So Dr. Mike has actually one more thing, so.
Yeah, so I would like to introduce our Deputy Superintendent for District 25. Super excited and pleased to announce that Mr. Sarin has agreed to join the ranks. Mr. Sarin's been in the district as a principal for 6 years, and he's done a tremendous amount of work. And some of the things that I'm excited about that Mr. Sarin is going to bring to our district community is, and this is unbelievable for you guys to really think about this, but I like to think of myself as someone who understands information. Mr. Sarin is able to organize information in ways that makes the things that I am able to do look very, very elementary. And the reason why it's so important is that it's one thing to have information to talk about and support decision-making. It's another one where you get granular, so granular where you can see the specific things that our kids really, really would benefit from. And that's something that Mr. Sarin is masterful at. So I'm excited that he's going to be able to join, that he has joined the team. And he also comes with a great deal of experience as someone who's gone on what they refer to as the quality reviewer. So he used to go out to schools to assess what was going on in schools and providing schools with feedback. So I'm excited that Mr. Sarin is here. I certainly welcome him aboard. And for those of you who remember, it was a long year for me to get someone that could sit in my seat other than the puppet Dr. Mike, in case you never saw him. There is a puppet Dr. Mike who was assuming that chair for an entire year. So I'm excited that Mr. Sarin has now changed that space and is now seated at that seat instead of puppet Dr. Mike. So Mr. Sarin, you want to just say a quick couple of words?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I am honored, truly, truly honored to be working alongside Dr. Mike, as we call him, Dr. D'Antona, to serve our community, our beautiful children, our staff members, and our leaders. Together, we have a lot to do. I'm very confident that working together, we will be providing a more rigorous support to our schools, a more rigorous support to our students and our community. And we will make the best District 25, the best and #1 district in the city, as it is already. But we will work, really, really hard to earn our community's trust and to make things happen. Thank you very much for the opportunity again. I'm so happy to be a part of this beautiful family.
Thank you, Umit. And just so you guys know, when I said I'm competitive, it's really in everything. So when he talks about being #1, it doesn't matter what the area is in the city. My first question is, did we make sure we did that better than everyone else? And the reason why that's important to me, it's not because I want to say that I'm first in everything. Oh, it might be part of that. But it's because for me, the bar needs to be in that space for everyone that works here. And when we don't meet it, what do we do differently to get better? And that's the mindset that I want to continue to perpetuate across our schools, across our leaders, across our teachers, across our kids, is that we're never the best at everything, but we can be if we put the work in that's necessary to do so. So I'm excited to be able to do that alongside Mr. Sarin moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so does anybody have any other new business before I move on to school liaisons? Awesome. So,
Wait,
yeah.
I thought, what about the site for the Chancellor Town Hall?
We're gonna get to that later.
It's not on the agenda.
That's in the business meeting. Okay, so for the school liaisons, I didn't think we were gonna be able to vote on it tonight, but even with John not being here, I was able to get the answer from him on his final schools. So we do have the list. I did send it out to everybody. I would just like to get a motion on us to approve this list so I can give it to the district to let the schools know.
Do we need to announce it?
Do you want me to read off?
Do we need to approve it?
Yeah, we do have to vote on it,
Yeah,
but.
so.
Should
Motion
we
to
be reading
approve it.
off the schools?
I'm just wondering how many members are here now?
One.
I'm one is on Zoom right now.
We need to have 7 in person. And the person online can vote if you're.
There's 7 people here.
Oh.
Yeah, why don't they make it
So
9,
one
so we
short.
never get to approve anything?
Okay, so we're gonna have to hold on actually approving this, but you guys know
Shouldn't they,
from the
shouldn't
part.
they make it lower if they require more people to be here?
I will move that to
I know, you don't make the rules.
next month. No, I appreciate
So
it.
wait, do we need a special meeting
Fraction
for
of the
this?
members we have, we lost a member, so that makes having a quorum
No,
harder.
you make too much sense. You haven't worked for the DOE.
No sense allowed.
Tell me.
Okay, we're gonna keep
That doesn't
going.
make sense,
We're gonna keep going. So just to give an update on the administrative assistant hiring situation, we did hold 3 interviews so far. At this point, we are going to continue investigating some additional resumes and scheduling additional interviews. So the council will be meeting separately about that. And we will move hopefully expeditiously through that process. Does anybody have anything else or a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Perfect, okay. Before we move into the business meeting, I've had a special request from the back of the room,
Oh, okay. I mean,
but he stepped out. No, he stepped out.
Oh, good. Oh, you mean
Extra
your
moment
son?
of silence. I'm gonna give him 1 second. Just in reiteration, being that it's 9/11, I wanted to do another moment of silence because my son apparently missed it when we did it the first time, but we can wait till he comes back because he wants to be a part of that. So we can call the business meeting to order meanwhile, 9:05. Just gonna go through attendance again. Wendy?
present.
Joseph?
Present.
Alvin?
President?
Catherine?
Present.
Bob?
Present.
Shirley? And I'm here. Okay, he's back. Perfect. So we can do this really quick for him. Sean, we're going to do what you requested real quick. So we're going to take an extra moment of silence in honor of 9/11 today, Patriot Day. And then we will move on with our business meeting. Okay, thank you, everyone. You guys can stand on the side. So for new business, the big topic is the Chancellor Town Hall, which is November 18th. We need to figure out a school for the town hall. Was there any suggestions, Louis, that you had come up with for us?
We had it.
You told me you'd give me some ideas.
We
You
had it
probably
at
forgot, but.
So I mean, you already have one at $4.99. I don't know if you
Right,
want
we
to
did
I don't know if you want to redo $4.99.
$4.99.
$4.99.
Yeah.
Is that when we did the iReady?
No, the iReady was 107.
November 18th, it's a Monday.
Yeah, 185 is always a school that has a big auditorium.
That was
IS-25 has a big auditorium.
We've had stuff there in the last year, though, I think.
25.
Then we do the award ceremony last year.
Yeah, they're frequent flyers, but
Yeah.
we did the award ceremonies at 194 this year, but,
Yeah.
But see, I feel like $194 would be big enough.
It's not gonna be big
Yeah.
enough, I don't think.
I think those are the two biggest auditoriums, I think. 185 and 25 are probably the two biggest auditoriums.
As close as translation is addition.
So would we want to look at 185 since we did use something at 25 recently, within the
I
last
mean, let's
year?
go do it at PS20. Eurotrain is pretty big. And then buses are right there, but there's no parking.
Yeah, there's no
How's
parking.
parking at 185?
Fine.
Yeah, fine.
Better.
Yeah, much better than 20.
Yeah.
Can we
I'll ask
ask
Mike.
them? Okay,
ask
so
Mike.
we're gonna look into 185. Do you need anything else from us, and what else?
So once you select the location, we can schedule a site visit,
Okay,
we can go there, visit school, and then we can talk more about it.
perfect. Okay.
Yeah, we can,
Wait.
Louis, just make
So
a note to ask
site
Mike.
visit, do we have to go with you, or like who attended the site visits?
The president, and then if any other members are able to or wanting to, they can, but it's not mandatory.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then also under new business, it does seem that one of the candidates from the 3 candidates we did interview for the AA position, he has taken on another position, so he is no longer available. One has not responded to the ask that we had sent out to see about like creating the agenda for a meeting, and the other one I know we felt was not the best fit. So I do need everyone to take a look at those resumes. I know Catherine sent over some, I started a list, so if everyone could take a chance to look at those before the next meeting or like over the next week or two and send over some names so we could possibly start scheduling additional interviews. The sooner we could schedule them, the sooner hopefully we get somebody in the position. So that would be my only ask from everyone. Does anybody else have any other new business? Okay. For next month, I already let Shirley know, I do have a business trip, so I will not be in person. I will try to jump on virtually though. So I'm gonna have Shirley be running the meeting for us. But I will make sure she has everything in advance, so just to give you guys
So
that
she's
update.
first.
She's
Phoebe.
first and Alvin's second. You're lucky, Alvin, you got out of this one.
Is that the 9th? That's October 9th.
Yes, October 9th.
I don't have it in here.
So if nobody has anything else, we can.
So what's, I guess you'll talk to her about what's on the agenda?
Yeah, we're gonna actually, we were talking about it, we're gonna try to do the special education presentation next month.
Can we invite District 75 here to, I mean,
Is there somebody that you have that you
Yeah.
can?
So, I mean, we can,
What do you
well,
want
to what? What would you want them to do?
how they are run and, or is that part of Nathan?
So Nathan can, so
Well, Nathan can,
one
I
of the
guess,
things
put
that we
the-
did last year, we brought in the supervisor of psychologists joined, which she has, I mean, she has knowledge of all of those things. So if there, we can ask her to do a specific component
Okay.
around District 75 inside of her work,
Yeah.
inside of that work with Nathan, so that there is that understanding of what that entails, what it looks like, sounds like, feels like for any parents. We can have her do that. That shouldn't be an issue at all.
My only other question, maybe you have the answer, can we hold a special meeting via Zoom to do this vote for the school liaisons?
All council meetings have to be in person. The only time it's not in person is committee meetings that have members of the public at large.
Okay.
And higher committee.
Because we're gonna run into a problem, that's not gonna happen.
And you didn't, I'm sorry, what day is the next meeting?
October 9th.
October 9th, okay, fine.
Okay, does anybody else have anything else, or?
So we need to know what you're asking from the D25. That would, we need to know. For the next
like, at the, yeah.
But we're gonna work on having Nathan prepare something for next
Yeah,
month.
Like if you have any questions surrounding D75 and special education that you want them to cover,
So they're gonna be at the next meeting, they're gonna be here October 9th.
Right.
Okay, okay.
Make a motion.
Motion to adjourn this meeting. Okay.
Perfect, 9/11.
Oh, wow, did you plan that?
No, I did not. Wow. That is ironic.
That is pretty funny.
We once stayed in
Wow.
the unit, the central unit 9/11. I'm like, okay,
That is
from New York.
weird.
Powerful. Cool.
Good.
Oh, I hope I bring the same note there.
I'll remind you between now and then.
Okay.
So I will let you know, I already sent Mike an email.
Okay,
So
perfect.
he won't have a problem with it. And the nice part about 185 too is they